watching Saints Now by Chat Sports. We are filming from Radio Row here in New Orleans at Super Bowl 59. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's show. I can't flip the camera around to show you all the chaos, so the best I'm going to be able to do is a little bit of one of these, just so you guys can kind of see all the chaos and all the fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for subscribing and supporting the channel, allowing us to come out to Radio Row. So first, I also want to say shout out to Ross Jackson for joining the program yesterday. We had an awesome interview. It will be linked in the comments and description of this video if you guys want to check it out. A lot of great insight, a lot of good information, 20-plus minutes of content, so go check it out. So I just want to get everybody on our side of things to say thanks, Ross, in the comments. Everyone show him some love. Locked On Saints host, Saints insider, inside the walls, inside the locker rooms, New Orleans native, Ross Jackson, absolute legend. Want to just show him some love. Get down in the comments section. Alrighty, so first, I want to just kind of throw it to a clip about what Ross Jackson had to say around the latest of Kellen Moore, because I think there is some good insight in terms of, what we should expect. And, I do believe that this is a move that's pretty much inevitable to happen. So I'm going to let Ross Jackson explain it really quickly for you. What's kind of your thoughts on the head coaching search? Obvious name, Kellen Moore. What are your thoughts just going into this process?
Yeah, at this point, everything that we expect has been what we've expected over the course of the past couple of weeks, which is that Kellen Moore is likely to become the New Orleans Saints' next head coach. Obviously, they can't make that decision or discernment right now until after the Super Bowl is all wrapped up. They'll have their third meeting. They did the virtual one. They flew out to Philly to go and see him. They got flown out, and then now they're going to be visiting with him here in New Orleans. I'm going to just be real. I can't see a world in which that's like so what do you think? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is definitely a, hey, let's get the numbers figured out. Let's get the figures done kind of expectation that I have for that meeting. So it feels like it's going to be Kellen Moore. Obviously, anything can happen. There can be, shakeups and all that. But I think this is pretty much I don't want to say as done a deal, but this is kind of as far along as it can get right now and should be able to continue after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, kind of just piggybacking off of things. I do believe that Ross Jackson makes a lot of good points in terms of this is probably going to be the inevitable, and they're waiting to do things the right way. Because if you remember not too long ago when the Eagles were in the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl was in the city of Phoenix, where the Cardinals are, and Jonathan Gannon went over to Arizona, they got hit with some tampering issues. And so the Saints are just trying to do things right. And I do think that this is something that will happen pretty quickly, and we should expect it to be fast-tracked as soon as Monday or Tuesday. That would be pretty cool to see. Now, I also want to dive into some quotes of what Kellen Moore had to say during at Radio Row and during the media week here in New Orleans. So Kellen Moore did discuss what it takes to be a head coach and what it means to him being a head coach. And he said that I was fortunate to go to Los Angeles and come to Philadelphia and grow. Each and every stop, you're around a bunch of different people that you haven't been around stylistically. The way you lead, it's all different in each and every stop you go. And so I've been fortunate to be around some great people, team up with them, and continue to evolve and prepare myself. Now, look, I do think Kellen Moore can be a great leader. This is a guy who, at Boise State in college, was a very successful quarterback. He understood how to lead a group of men on the football field. So I think that he can understand what it means and what it takes to lead a larger group of men on the entire sideline. Instead of just the offense, I think that he can command the locker room. And I do think he can command the sideline. And on top of that, I do think that Kellen Moore is capable of being a leader. It doesn't have to always be loud. It doesn't always have to be rah-rah. You're not going to get some of that from Kellen Moore, at least right now. However, we know that he does have a lot of great leadership qualities, and I will say I think Kellen Moore would be an excellent fit here in New Orleans. Now, coming up next, I got some more thoughts from Ross Jackson, and on top of that, we're going to dive into what Kellen Moore said about the Saints quarterbacks specifically, so we're just going to dive in here in a second. But really first, got to give a big-time shout-out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Game Time. Now, if you guys are looking to get tickets at the last second for the lowest price guaranteed, you got to download the Game Time app and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but you got to download Game Time for a plethora of reasons, but my biggest reason of all is the Game Time Picks feature. It filters out the fluff to show you filters out the fluff so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets that you know you're not going to buy anyway. It makes it easier to get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, live events, and all sorts of other awesome stuff. Now, if you want to get tickets to the Pelicans, if you want to get tickets to the big game out here in New Orleans at the Dome, or even Shaq's Funhouse, Burt Kreischer's got some stand-up coming up here in New Orleans. And on top of that, Jazz Fest, as always, you can get tickets on Game Time. Their customer service department is also second to none. They are incredible. I cannot endorse them enough. So download the Game Time app today. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. All of that information will be in the comments and description of this video. So shout out to Game Time. Download the app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Kellen Moore, he also spoke about his interview with the New Orleans Saints, and he actually has some pretty nice things to say. There's certainly a great opportunity. I think the big thing is really getting to know people. Certainly, there's philosophies and things that are going to be questioned about. But I think it's an excellent opportunity just to get face-to-face and get to know people and get to know the interactions and see the fit that it may be. Now, look, I do think that the New Orleans Saints job, it can be a great gig. Right now, sure, it may not be super desirable outward looking in. You have an aging roster. Your quarterback situation's a mess. Your roster cap is an absolute nightmare. That being said, you also have the ability to really indulge into a community that loves this football team, and it's in a very unique way. And Ross Jackson, he had some really interesting thoughts about New Orleans and the city and how it has a relationship to the team and what the team's relationship to the city is. So we're going to throw it that way here in just a second. Really, really good stuff here from Ross.
I think the connection between the New Orleans Saints in particular and the city of New Orleans is one of the best community-to-team relationships in all of sports. Like, listen, Saints fans will let it be known when they're not happy about this team.
Sure.
It's not because they're unhappy with the team. It's because they want to be happy with the team. They
Sure.
want to be excited. They want to see their team win. And just the connection through, like, I'm a Katrina survivor and everything. Like, I was here for it. I lived through all of it and everything. And so to go through all that, one of the things that we did every Sunday was ride around and find a way to watch the Saints game. Like,
Sure.
even, like, after that and everything. And, like, with the rebuild and the rebirth of the New Orleans Saints franchise, the rebuild and the rebirth of New Orleans happened at the same time. And so the connective tissue between the community and the team is just unlike any other you're going to find.
Now, being a New Orleans native, Ross Jackson has really, really good insight. I am from the Dallas, Texas area, went to college at the University of Arkansas. So, I'm not as familiar with what it means to be a Saints fan in the city of New Orleans. But I can tell you one of my favorite things about being a Saints fan is it doesn't matter where you're from. What really matters is the passion and whether or not you love your team. It doesn't matter the location. The Who Dat Nation is a family, and I absolutely love that. But we're not going to talk that too much more. Kellen Moore, he spoke about the quarterbacks. He spoke about Derek Carr, and I think that this is very insightful here. Derek and I played against each other one year, my senior year, his sophomore year. Yeah, certainly. I've known Derek Carr for a long time. I have tons of respect for him as a quarterback in this league. He's had a tremendous career, and he has done a lot of great things. Now, obviously, this was not a really good showing for Derek Carr when they met up. Granted, Boise State, the fifth-ranked team at the time, Fresno State, not necessarily a college football powerhouse. That being said, it is pretty funny to see what Kellen Moore did to Derek Carr's team, and now Kellen Moore might be his head coach. Just kind of a funny situation all in all. Just that being said, he's not going to come out and outwardly say, yeah, I don't really think that Derek Carr is the future. He's going to be very non-transparent here. He's not going to give you a lot of information and a lot of insight on what he wants to do with the quarterback room, especially considering the fact that he doesn't even have the job technically. So, I do think when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, the quarterback situation is something that Kellen Moore is going to have control of. And Ross Jackson, he even had some insight on what Kellen Moore could possibly do with the quarterback room.
When you bring in a head coach, the next thing that you want to make sure that you do is you give that head coach their quarterback. And we've seen the New Orleans Saints do this, right? They hired Sean Payton. Sean Payton wanted Drew Brees. They went and got him Drew Brees.
Yep.
They hired Dennis Allen, the defensive head coach. He wanted Derek Carr. They went and got his offense, Derek Carr. He didn't even call a play on the offensive side. And they were like, yeah, we'll go get you your guy.
Exactly.
That's fine. And so I think that you're going to see them either in 2025 or 2026 do the same thing for Kellen Moore. You could be somebody that loves Derek Carr. You could be somebody that doesn't like Derek Carr. Doesn't matter. You got to really look at what it is that Kellen Moore wants. And maybe he wants Derek Carr, maybe he doesn't. And that's going to be kind of the biggest deciding factor. And then I imagine that if Derek Carr's gone, a guy that's in a similar vein but with more athleticism, Jake Haener, makes sense that he probably doesn't get a second contract.
Sure.
Right? Because it's kind of the same thing. The big outlier is Spencer Rattler, who is so different than both Derek Carr and Jake Haener. So it could be that no Derek Carr and then eventually no Jake Haener. It could be Derek Carr, Jake Haener, no Spencer Rattler. And it's such an interesting kind of mold in terms of what it can all be. So it's really going to come down to, and I think the most important thing, the team making the decision that the head coach wants to make.
Sure.
That's got to be the thing at the forefront here. So we'll see exactly which way it goes, but that's probably going to be – it's going to be a hot topic for a little while.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, really, really good stuff there from Ross. It was an awesome time to sit down and talk with him. If you guys want to check out the full interview, it's linked in the comment section and description of this video. Reminder, get in the comment section, type thanks, Ross. But wanted to give you guys an update on our 2025 sub-battle against the Atlanta Falcons. We're kicking their ass, and that is why we are here at Radio Row. And that is why Matthew Peterson is stuck in Dallas HQ. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Boss man Brett knows what's up. Y'all stay golden. We will see you next time.